The embattled South African Airways finally held its annual general meeting today after months of delay. The airline announced a net loss of 5.6 billion rand in the 2016-2017 financial year. Finance Minister Nhlanhla, who attended the AGM, said this meeting was long overdue. Well, CEO of the airline, Vuyani Jarana, has been appointed to turn the struggling airline around. He joins us now. Mr. Jarana, good evening. Thanks very much for joining us. Let's start like, at the sort of global level, if you could. I mean, fuel prices, a highly competitive industry, a slowing global economy face virtually every airline in the world. But what is the single biggest challenge facing SAA in particular, outside of those, at the moment as we speak?
The single biggest challenge facing SAA today is how SAA is organized, its capability to compete in the market. SAA doesn't have really a market problem, because if you look at the growth in passenger traffic in Africa, is projected to grow 6% over the next 10-15 years. So you've got growth in the market. What's important, therefore, is how you organize yourself for success, high cost base, a depletion of skills, and an operating model that doesn't lend itself well to be competitive in a market that really is looking for innovation. So a lot of the problems of SA are not about the market, they are inside. So if we fix ourselves inside, we earn a right to compete in the market and succeed.
Now, in dealing with that, what is top on your list?
Top of agenda is making sure that the decisions around routes, network productivity, profitability of the network level up to the route, we're able to actually have a network that's very successful. If most of your routes have negative gross profit margins, it means you've got a problem in terms of how you address the market. So the big focus, revenue, customer acquisition, making sure customers choose us ahead of competition. It talks to customer experience. Alongside that, you improve onboard experience, in-flight entertainment systems, making sure that you can have better connectivity once you're traveling from here to New York. So the whole service portfolio must improve. That's one aspect. However, SA has a high cost base. We have to simplify the business, look at business processes, making sure that what we buy the lowest cost possible, and we're able to compete in the market. So it's a combination of things: operating model, skills for revenue management, customer experience, as well as really being very aggressive in cost containment.
But do you have the same understanding with the shareholder? Do you have the same understanding? You were in Parliament only a day or so ago. Do you have the same understanding? And the reason I'm asking this, I remember in one particular meeting where members of Parliament were questioning the fact that SAA dishes out free newspapers. They were asking whether the food that is being served, some of them, is even necessary. So clearly, I mean, there is a misalignment, so to speak.
Yeah. Look, I think one of the key things that's important is that when in any business, the moment you are not profitable, you've got your shareholders and stakeholders starting to question everything that you do, even the things that are very critical for you to compete and succeed in the market. My experience in my 4 months is that the shareholder is clear about what's to be done. They back the strategy that we're implementing. We have implemented tactical strategies in terms of rebalancing capacity in the market between ourselves, SAA and Mango, which is in the same group. We're also clear about what we're going to do in the international domain. So my reading of the situation, my engagement with the shareholder and the board, there is clear sense of alignment. However, we have to accept that if you are not making money, people are going to start saying, is it worth doing A, B, C, D? Yet those initiatives are very critical for your competitive strategy.
Well, of course, I mean, politicians being politicians, they may say one thing publicly, but turn around and ask you to do things that you think are not profitable, including establishing routes that make no sense. Have you got a guarantee from them that if a route doesn't make sense, no matter how well we get along with, say, China, if that route doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense and it cannot be undertaken?
This is the kind of feedback we get. This is the kind of mandate we got from the board as well as the shareholder. There's an alignment that SAA has to be financially sustainable before we can carry any other obligations. What's also encouraging is the discussions in government around quantifying and costing what you call development objectives. And these are not just about SAA. SABC and other SOCs carry the same. But where we are today, there is a clear sense of alignment that whilst we need to make the airline financially sustainable and carry the aspirations of the nation, you can't do those things from a loss-making basis. At the center of this is to make sure that executives make the right decision to make sure the airline succeeds. Part of it is being very commercially focused. We are very clear that we want to run a very commercial business in SAA so that we can succeed.
Jobs, what about jobs? Do you foresee a situation where you'll have to get rid of certain people? Here we saw reports a few days ago that some people have been hired to protect you executives.
Yeah, look. If you look at SAA today, what we need to be clear about is that we have to consider everything. The biggest focus for me is around productivity and efficiency in the organization. If I can get the people to be twice or three times more productive and efficient within the right commercial and business model, that's great. However, we've been talking to the people of SAA, I'm engaging with unions. We're saying our situation is such that it is inevitable that at some point we are going to relook how we are organized, including productivity, including asset utilization, including the kind of structure and operating model that we need to operate with to save the airline. So there's a broad understanding that we're going to consider these things, but we're going to have to put them on the table with the people of SA, unions, employees, leadership of SA to find an answer. And we're having those internal conversations. So we are moving forward in discussions. Everything is under consideration. There's no sacred cow. To save SAA, you have to take a much more broader approach with no sacred cows.
Well, listening, reading the responses to some of the things you and your chairperson have been saying, almost everyone seems to agree that you're saying all the right things. But breaking even in 2 years, isn't that way too ambitious?
That's 3 years. We're talking about break even in 3 years' time. So that's what we're focusing on. And obviously, that is predicated on a number of things, that the strategy is well-funded. And strategy that's well-funded on a very balanced capital structure, not just debt burden only, because each business has an optimum capital structure beyond which the debt becomes burdensome. So we have made certain assumptions around what the future of the commodities would look like, exchange rate movements, the funding structure, the capital structure, the skills we need to bring into SAA as a matter of agency. We're quite comfortable that with the market that's growing and a very strong core business of the airline as it is today, because SAA in the core business is not broken. What is a problem in SAA is the commerciality of it. The fact that we're not making profit, the costs are high, and we're probably not flying the right routes all the time. So we're quite comfortable that in 3 years' time, everything else that we have lined up happening with a very strong, aggressive approach in execution of the strategy. You will recall that there's been many strategies at SAA. What we have done since November around route rebalancing, it shows a leadership team with the board that's committed to take the hard decision to make sure the airline moves forward. And we are quite comfortable that we should break even in year 3.
Very quickly, 2 things. Privatization, is there an appetite for that from your shareholder immediately?
The shareholder has already made an announcement around the strategic equity partner. So when the MBPS was held, statement was released. So the timing of that depends on how quickly can we make SAA attractive. As things stand today, I think it's more in the outer years, year 3, because I don't think that there's going to be a suitor who's going to be interested in SAA in its current form. We have to do the hard work to fix SAA, and I think in year 3 we can start talking about we are attractive enough to attract a strategy.
What happens to Mango and South African Express?
Mango remains part of the group. South African Express, there is an interministerial committee that's looking at integration. That work is ongoing, and we will see what directive the shareholder gives to us. So far, we're focusing on fixing SAA, continuing to make sure Mango remains the jewel of the group, really focusing on the low-cost market moving forward.
Mr. Jarana, thanks very much and best of luck to you.
Thank you for having me.
CEO of South African Airways, Vuyani Jarana.